Oh shit, you're right. Slash Raza Ghul, fake Raja Ghul. He does kind of look like. Looks like someone else too, but I can't think right now. Welcome. We are in a live stream, and I am now recording this. Uh, right before we get started, don't forget to share, support, and hopefully donate to Devon's Journey to Recovery, helping survivors of Africom, Stevie from Red Economics, and also buy Sleepy J a coffee. It's not actually about coffee. It's about helping another human being out. Shh. Don't tell him I told you. All links for those will be in the description box. All right, here we go. So I have not seen all of this video. I've watched like a minute so far, but I kind of heard what the topic was a little bit here. At least this section of the video. I'm like, I want to record this. You know what? I'm gonna record this. Here we go. From Allison McDowell. Smart shirts and stupid systems trapped in a biomatrix. What's up, Caitlin? Oh, Caitlin. Oh. All right, here we go.
Ultimately, it's boils down to that.
You are getting a live
How we
reaction.
respond to that, or maybe we just take it. Apparently,
I mean, I think the flip side though, like, is even on the left. This is just my experience as being like is that like the people are so MIA, and in fact, in some ways, like even more shaming of people who are like have a different opinion about things. Is that the idea of a planned economy? Like, I think in some ways it's that the trope of whatever the automatic luxury communism or something like that. I think some people sort of still have this idea of like, oh, like if we could just take this whole apparatus and make it socialist, it would be so great. Yeah. And like for me, if my official break is like nature, like a natural web of relations versus like an engineered thing, it doesn't necessarily break right left at that point, because there's a lot of people on the left who'd be like, yeah, like I'm totally down for the engineered, like the cybersyn version. And so it muddles things a little bit. I don't know if that makes, and then I think the other piece on the left is like, in some ways, some people tend to deride the non-materialist part. Like they're so materialist. And I'm like, actually, maybe the problem is that we're so materialist, is that there's like, they make fun of people of faith, like people who are interested in things that are beyond like the unknown or the spiritual aspect, because it's framed as like a conservative Christian. Like they wag their finger and say those terrible people who have faith. Like where our faith is like our process. And so it's, to me, it's like, it's interesting, nuanced, just how it has unfolded. Cause I'm trying to figure out like, why is it that the people I thought would be able to see can't? And I think that there's something about both the planning and the spiritual aspect that is like hitching them up a little bit.
That is interesting. That's very interesting. Like looking at systems strictly in this material sense, and I've argued with many people with this topic of, you know, their idea is, well, if we just change this and this and this with the system, people will all of a sudden, you know, the world will be better. You know, people start behaving better, and we'll be able to, I guess, stymie the rulers, the capitalists, the whatever, overclass, upper class, whatever, the elites, the imperialists, on and so forth. And I believe I would be agreeing with her in regards to like having this unspoken backbone to a movement, to any type of movement, to where, yeah, the idea is a little bit abstract, a little woo-woo, right? Most people, I mean, historically it's been religious based, right? Like a Martin Luther King or whoever, or Gandhi, right? But that type of thing drives you when all other things get knocked off, right? It's the core of the answer you're looking for. If my idea is to get everyone healthcare, that will always take precedence over, I need Medicare for all. I need that exact system. Schematic, like laid out this exact way. Right? You leave room to be wrong about, you know, the logistics of it, that you can obviously communicate more with other people, and also just in case if you're fucking wrong, because the goal is healthcare. It's not I need this straight up schematic system. And you see people die on hills all the time for the sake of communism or socialism or capitalism. Also, if I had to guess, I would think most people would, or the best idea for, or the best system would be like a mixture of things. Real. That'd probably end up being, right, to where it wouldn't even have a name. Oh, this makes sense, so we're doing this. Gotcha. What about material conditions, bruh? All right, here's more.
Well, I think that certainly the right now most socialists that I'm reading are very much buying into the state. Certainly, a state of lockdowns. The state has to protect me, and I do think has a vision of a different kind of state that would essentially enforce or support a utopian kind of thing. And I'm certainly that I, to the extent that I've ever had that vision of socialism, that's just kind of gone now. In terms of what I imagine revolution would actually make this change, the change that's necessary happen. For me,
I just want to add in, like, if your sense of what a person is beyond the material, like if they're more than just material, meaning like more than just their brains and blood and bones and muscles and shit like that, if they're more than that, there is no system, perfect system that will do it for the human, straight up, right? Because humans have the ability to move in different directions beyond just words stated on paper, right? And that's good and bad, right? It has its positives and negatives, right? Because someone could, in a negative way, step outside the rules and say, "Oh, I can just lie to him. I'll just lie, or I'll get away with it. I'll just steal this. No one will notice. Whatever." Right? Or even for the positive of like, this rule doesn't make sense over here for these guys, so I'm going to stand against this rule. Right? You want that. There's going to be wiggle room because, once again, I believe humans are beyond just material, which makes the system, which means the system, quote unquote, is going to behave outside of the stated rules or the broken down logistics of it and schematic of it. It's gonna end up moving in different directions because people move in different directions. So focusing so much on the material aspect or looking at a social system as material or in a materialistic way, good fucking luck. I know plenty of people that would be monkey wrenches in that cog. Pause. Here we go.
The materialism part has always been like, well, what around me could actually what's around me that I could physically see helping make this place. So the notion of getting back together with my colleagues and coworkers is a material response to being broken apart. So that's the materialism of socialism is to me at least, or Marxism at least, is the notion that we will need to accumulate together to be able to have a response to something that's being done by a minority population against us as a majority.
Yeah.
And also to say, where is our power to be had at? Because my power is not in my home. It's not. I can't log off here. My power is going back to the school and getting the rest of the workers back to their places and us seizing it collectively. And then I do think, though, I now come to question whether or not this technology could be used by us. Like I increasingly am thinking that this will be if it was to be a revolution, it would be a very decentralizing experience of common associations of nodes and pods of people who have are trying to figure out how to do this together. But I don't know. I don't know if we can use this technology to make it happen.
There would be. I understand why he's saying what he's saying, because it's all based on the world we live in today. To be real, like how people are acting in the world today. I think that's what his notion is based on, because I can hypothetically or theoretically consider that, if we lived in a healthy world, but there's still somehow there's filthy rich people, and then all of a sudden there are poor starving people, I think the filthy rich people would willingly, like, I'm gonna go out of my way to make sure there is no starving people unless they choose to be. Right? They're like, no, bro, I'm experimenting. I don't want to eat food. Okay. Obviously, ask them like you still with that? Okay. Just checking, man. Just checking. But yeah, this is not difficult in my mind. This is the idea that he's talking about is in regards to the unhealthy expressions we already see in the world today, which will end up throwing you back into a kind of default man of the time scenario, to where your principles are based on how shitty the world is now. And it's like, does this work in, let's say we have a society of full-on healthy people in the future sometime. Like, now your principles and rules don't work over here. Now they might even be looked at as, man, that's a bad idea, man. Don't you want everyone to just freely do all this, blah, 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 blah. Just naturally find a way to, like, work together and blah, 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 blah. Right? I'm just saying. So, yeah. We try to make some sort of principles strictly based on the world as we see it today. We're going to end up piling rules on top of rules on top of rules on top of rules to deal with that rule that's now being broken at a super duper higher rate. So now we got to write a rule for that rule to make sure that they don't break the other initial rule, and then we got to have this rule over here, and then this type of punishment for this type of rule, so that this, you know what I'm getting at? The mishmash of things, rather than like, okay, what do we actually want? Okay, where's the actual problem at? Where's that located at? I've probably I've talked about that many a times. All right, here we go. More video.
Yeah, that's why I tend to not align with like the crypto libertarian, like, I know people are doing sort of freedom cell stuff and things. And I mean, I'm not throwing shade. It's just not I don't think that the answer is a blockchain economy, like Agora thing. Like that's, it may be for other people, but for me, I think that the answer is really more like trying to channel a better relationship to the earth.
And
that could be, I think she said like freedom cell, blockchain. I guess that's cryptocurrency type stuff. Once again, those are strategies to ward off the bad thing that are happening now, and I understand it. In fact, they're probably well-meaning people. I get why you would do this, and in a lot of cases, if I knew all the details about it, like, okay, I agree with that. As far as like, but just understand that that's not it's not solution with a capital S on it, right? That's okay, this is what we got to deal with right here, right? Like, oh shit, there's, whatever, the deer are eating my garden or whatever, right? Your short-term solution might be like, oh, let's put up a fence, keep them out of here. But your long-term might be like, hey, let's find some way that they have sustainable food. Actually found this idea recently of self-sustaining, like, gardening, where like it's self-perpetuate, like it constantly, like with like a few exceptions of plants that you gotta like, you actually have to like upkeep with them, but others that just naturally keep growing over and over and over again. Like, oh, that'd be wonderful to have for the deer, so that they don't have to come in my garden and eat. Right? To where it's like, oh, that's like the big S solution. Then they get eaten by bears. You're like, fuck, we need a new rule. But I get why the small lowercase s solutions are thought about and brought up. I just think might lose focus. A lot of people lose focus with the big S solutions, where they almost hyper zoom on. It's like, it's communism or nothing else. It's like, whoa. All right, buddy. Capitalism is freedom. What's wrong with you? Okay. Like, all right. All right, let's continue.
So
I hope I don't run out of computer
May
space.
I just share that I have changed recently in my view about certain things in our discussions. You talked about 5G. We talked about vaccines recently, and it's I think it's in the age of fake news, in the age of fake, the word fake, and in the age of facts versus alternative facts, in the age of misinformation and disinformation, I think that the left has been sort of pushed into sort of a very narrow way of thinking now, because anything that is a talk of 5G or anything outside of a conversation about vaccines is being seen as very fringy.
Which is so strange, because to me, these vaccines literally are backed by the military. Like, where are the anti-imperialists when actually the empire is your body? Like, to me, that just seems like a no-brainer. Like, it's DARPA. Really, you want to shoot yourself up with military technology? Like, that just seems insane. Like, that you would not be like, wait a minute, like, maybe we need to think about that. I don't know.
It's like what I told, like, Amy Goodman, Democracy Now!, had a fucking 9/11 debate on their show. Would they do anything like that today? I don't fucking think so. Right? Like, how does that happen? I want to understand that. How'd you get here? Like, there was some type of thought process that brought you to be doing this. Maybe at the time they were just, it was already risky in their own mind. They're like, fuck it, let's just take the risk. We're not a small channel, or we're not a large channel, so let's try it out, see what happens. Maybe they got to the point where we're too large of a channel now. Now we can't do. By channel, I mean like an actual news station, news station. That's weird, bro. Yeah. Here we go.
No.
Yes, and I'm also very afraid of the censorship that is happening now. That after we did some research recently on COVID vaccines on Operation Warp Speed, it's so difficult now. I can see how in the future companies, anything that is dissentful, anything about Alison McDowell talking about the fourth industrial revolution, will be eliminated. What's left will be eliminated. All these dissenting voices, they'll all be considered disinformation. All will be considered as part of this isn't actually what we should be. Yeah, this is part of more of what's not. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't allow for dissenting
maybe
voices
even
to
if
be
you
online.
question it,
you
might become ostracized for that.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I
like,
shared
I
an article about the smart shirt on my
it?
Facebook page today, and it was a link and a screenshot, and it was the press release of the company working with Stanford. And it's just like, we're doing this smart shirt. By the way, we're going to use it for essential workers, for COVID, and disabled people. Okay. It was the press release for Stanford. And someone said, I can't share it. I'm getting a warning sign. Getting a warning sign on, like, it's a Stanford press release. They said, because it says COVID. Mm-hmm. Like the word itself from on the Stanford press release is suddenly flagged as like a dangerous thing.
They must Wikipedia correct
I mean, I know it was
you.
bad, but like, this wasn't even something that you could even, it was, I mean, they were selling this to sell COVID. I mean, like, it wasn't even going against the narrative, but just the use of the word became illegal.
Apparently you can get the virus just by pronouncing the word.
Alison, I have a personal question to ask you, on last one from me.
I thought that was funny.
How do you muster the courage to be able to post or talk about these things without being afraid of losing friendships? Don't they think that you're crazy and you're mad and this is?
I like her glasses.
People don't follow me on you're my friend on Facebook, right?
Right, but because I am accepting of a lot of people.
Well, but nobody trolls me on my page. I mean, very rarely, but nobody, like, I have 2,200 friends. Like, I mean, the other day I kind of had a bummer situation, and I was like, tell me something nice. Like 300 people jumped in and like wanted to give me kitten pictures and baby pictures. Like, people are actually like, it's very frustrating to be shoved into this online world. Like, the reality is my real world is not supportive. I mean, they're not necessarily, but I've absented myself because I'm not seeking confrontation. Like, I'm not going to look and shove my view into other people. Like, that's not how I operate. So even before COVID hit, it was already going in that direction. So I just don't have a lot of direct, real people. I mean, which is sad, but I feel like I'm doing, I'm fulfilling a service. Like there is something I'm supposed to
She's
do.
so
Like I
lovely.
do truly feel that
Not
there
gonna
is,
lie.
like the creator out there has put me on a path to do something. And to be on this path, like
She's
it
single.
stinks, but
Just
then at the
curious.
same time, you
She's
connect with amazing people over something that matters.
She likes woo woo
right?
too.
Like I'm not just connecting with somebody over like a sports
God
team
damn.
or a book club or like this actually.
What?
You know, I kind of
Just for
joke,
fun.
but I was like it's scrappy moms against
Keep 'em off
AI. Like I thought I was fighting school closures, but it turns out I'm fighting the cyborg takeover of the world. Like, right? Like I thought I was just doing testing, right? It's the cyborgs. I'm freaking fighting nanorobotic cyborg things and the military. Like, but it matters. I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, if we can see this, what we do matters. Like if we have been put in a place to see it, to do something. And that's the spirit part. Like that's the asymmetrical warfare, like framing. And that's why I think the sacred, like I frame it as, you know, not good and evil, but like sacred and profane. Like there's this yin yang out there. And I do really believe in my heart, and that's why I keep talking about energetic systems, that there are dimensionalities that we cannot materially see that matter. Like to me, I have been like trying to sort of wait, like to find someone like more from a Black or Indigenous frame who is like leading on this, like a leading voice that I could be like, hey, yeah, let me, like, can I work with you? Like rather than me just doing it and telling white people stuff, right? And when I wrote that piece for the that little action that I did at Washington, you know, the protest at the president's house, you know, and at the Underground Railroad. And it wasn't popular. Like people don't want to have the founding fathers, somebody wagging their finger and saying, by the way, that it's not right. It was never right, you know, but I did it. And then in the comment, someone found me and said, like, I'm doing this work. Like I've been looking for someone too. So like we risk, and even if it's a tiny crack, like it's, I think that's the thing. If some of us are carrying the ember, and then eventually there'll be a bonfire, and we might not get to see the bonfire. We might not get to that point, but if we don't do our part, then it's never going to happen. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's the courage, is that there's something bigger than us, and that we're meant to do something. We're actually like, and that's pretty powerful, actually. Like it makes me, I'm not saying it doesn't sometimes suck, but it's actually a gift. It's a gift to have a life that really truly that will shape things. That's, I don't know.
There are many things I agree with that entire statement. There's kind of ideas in there too. And guess what? There's practical ideas behind it. It's not strictly, you know, woo woo, get crystals and light candles and shit. Right? The idea of meant to do. Well, who's determining that? If you end up figuring out that you're determining what you're meant to do, then it's like, oh, this doesn't sound like crazy God voice from the cloud somewhere. Now it sounds a lot more practical. Now, what if you took that very seriously? What else do you find with that? How about this notion of, right, one small spark leading to a full-on forest fire or whatever? Like, well, to be real with you, you are literally changing the world with each action you take. Why not try to follow your own moral principles when you act? You may be one out of whatever, 7.5 billion people, but you're still one of them. You're still a part of the world. Yes, you are changing the world as you change yourself. Change yourself. So there is practicality to the woo-woo nature of what she's talking about. It's not, you don't have to be like, oh, what, I gotta pray to candle or pray to crystals and light candles. Like, no, there's practical, psychological, existential ideas that are behind what she's saying. Also, the notion of, I guess, friends or companionship or whatever she's talking about, like, whenever, like, because she's expressing something that I would consider an aspect of all people. Not everyone's in touch with it, but it's there. Like this notion of meaning to do well, right? That thing we call goodness. And in that process of trying to express that goodness, you have to deal with your other psychological aspects, right? Things like your shadow and your subconscious and things. You have to deal with that, all your content there. And as you walk through that, you're going to start expressing things. And guess what? The people that you were calling friends that only cared about the surface level persona, oh, he's funny, I like him. Makes me laugh. I like him. That only looked at you on that level. Like, would we call them actual, like, real friends? Or is it just, hey, I get along with that person? That's it. Like, we laugh and shit. But is it like a friend? Like, willing to accept all your depth? I guess maybe we should make a category for that. Pause? Yeah. Maybe we should make a category for that. Yeah, let's play the rest of this. This is fucking interesting. And I'm in love. Is that her? That's Allison? Is that her? Or is this just a random channel just playing this? Whatever. I'm in love. Here we go.
And I think we're all in this mix. And I'm not saying I'm just like there's not a hierarchy in that. Like we all just have our different path to do. Anyone? Does that mean that's how I feel?
Yeah.
She would like M. Night Shyamalan's Lady in the Water, where all these random people that live in this apartment complex all have to work together. They're all working together to help this angelic type woman, whatever. Michael Clayton. I think that'd be a good one. Michael Clayton with George Clooney. He's in that. There's a part of the movie where this lawyer, I think he's a lawyer, who's supposed to defend this like evil corporation, reads this kid's book one day, and all of a sudden he's like, dude, look through the pages. Come on. Let me read you this passage. And it's about we're all meant to be doing this thing to this thing better. Or we're all parts of a whole, or whatever the fuck. Something that inspired him. You would like that movie, I think. Also, what was it? Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, I believe is the name of it. Where there's a scene where they talk about, I don't know, where it's like from the Judaic religion, somewhere where we're all parts of a whole. I guess that makes up God or something. I don't remember exactly. But it's something like that. She might like that movie too. I'm a movie guy, forgive me. Let's play this. Forgive my rambling, I just all of a sudden said that. Here we go.
Well, I guess on that note, if anyone else has a question, I guess that will do.
He's your scrappy mom friend, even though I don't know her.
It was good to hang out again.
All right, I guess that's the end of it. Very cool. I like to hear those ideas attached to the world, because me and James get accused of this, that we're just sit on your ass and contemplate your navel and just think all day, don't actually do any action. Don't do anything in the world, you just sit there and try to think all day. Mental masturbation. We get accused of that. Not just from Skeptical, from other people as well. Yeah, I know, they got wrecked too. But it's nice to hear those concepts being, like where I see them. This is why I talk about them in the first place. They seem so present in today's society as far as politics go. And like, dude, this is right here, and no one's looking at that. Like, sometimes it can be frustrating. I'm like, this is right in front of you, and no one's paying attention to it. And I don't mean woo-woo, man. I mean, well, I guess unless you consider psychology woo-woo. But yeah, it's like right there. In my opinion. What's up, Steve? All right, I guess that's it. Don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to Devon's Journey to Recovery, helping survivors of Africom, Stevie, Red Economics, and go buy Sleepy J some coffee. It's not coffee. It's probably for something else. I'm just to help other people. That's what I'm saying. And also a thumbs down.